The origins of Greenhill. Imagine this place not as a busy city street, but as open countryside. Rolling fields, a few thatched cottages, and a quiet dirt track running north towards the hills. That was Greenhill in the early 1700s, just farmland beyond the edge of old Swansea. Place names like Wine Wen, White Meadow, and Bryn Melyn, Yellow Hill, still whisper of the land as it once was. But as the 18th century rolled into the 19th, things began to change. Industry arrived. First the copper works, then potteries, tanneries and rail lines. People poured in from the Welsh valleys, from rural farms, and especially from famine-struck Ireland. The hillside filled up quickly. Terraces were built, chapels were founded, the quiet became crowded, the green became grey. By the 1820s, this area had become known as Greenhill. The name was already in use by 1641, but it took on a new meaning as the hill turned into a tightly packed, hard-working and diverse community. It wasn't always easy. Housing was cramped, conditions were poor, but neighbours looked out for one another. Stories collected from old residents speak of real warmth. If anything was wrong, they'd be there in a minute. I couldn't wish to be brought up anywhere better. And right at the heart of it stood the church, first called St John's, later renamed St Matthew's, and now home to Matthew's House. The origins of that church go all the way back to the 1160s, when a nobleman gave this land to the Knights Hospitaller, a medieval order that cared for pilgrims and the poor. They built a small chapel here, one of the earliest in Swansea. By the 13th century, it was serving the whole local community. Though technically outside the town walls, the chapel became a spiritual home for this hillside. Farmers passed it on their way to market. Families gathered here in grief and celebration. Later, the church would witness cholera outbreaks, wartime bombings, and modern redevelopment. Today, that same spirit of care still flows through this site. The pews may be gone, but the welcome remains. Greenhill has known hardship. In recent years, High Street was even labelled the worst in Britain, a place of boarded shops and struggle. But labels don't tell the full story. Greenhill is also a place of community, creativity and quiet resilience, a place where people care for one another, often without fuss or fame, a place where hope somehow keeps finding a way. And it all began right here, on a hillside, in a chapel, among fields that turned into home.